Hello and welcome to Christmas time. Now I have ordered us a little Christmas tree to go right here in the background, but it's not here yet. Oh, we don't have Vivian yet. Vivian! So, okay, we have a sweet little kitty beside us this video instead. My goodness, look at her. Little Christmas kitty. But we do need Vivian in the shot, so. Vivian, you're gonna have to sleep with your sister here. It'll be okay, she's not gonna hurt you. Can Vivian sit here?
It's a Friday once again.
Hello, my fellow freaks, and welcome back to the channel. I hope you have all had a great holiday week. It is already the month of December. I cannot believe how quickly this year has just flown by. But it is December, and last December I was working a bunch, so I had a short, few month hiatus from my channel, and I didn't get to review any Christmas movies last year. So I'm very excited that this year I will be getting into some holiday horror. And for the month of December, I seem to have very unintentionally made every film very Santa Claus focused, very Santa Claus based. Unintentionally, I did not mean for every film this month to have to do with Santa Claus. I mean, I guess that can be easy to do, but I can name some Christmas horror movies that don't have to do with Santa Claus. The Thing, Ginger Dead Man, Jack Frost, I know there's others. The Mean One. I almost did the Mean One, but I ended up replacing it with something else, and that's going to be next week's video. Anyway, not all Christmas horror has to do with Santa Claus, but I'm sure you could argue that, the majority of it does. Oh, Black Christmas. Black Christmas also doesn't have to do with Santa Claus. How could you forget Black Christmas? But although not every Christmas horror movie has to do with Santa, somehow I have ended up making every film for December focused on Santa. So I hope you guys like Santa Claus. And this week's film was actually recommended to me quite a few years ago by one of my besties named Julia. She's from Finland, which is where this film reigns from, and that film is Rare Exports from 2010 and directed by Jalmari Helander. Oh, sweet, sweet Finland, the land where birds don't exist. I really was not sure what to expect from this film, even just by reading the synopsis. And all I saw was a whole lot of guns and Santa being tied up and held hostage. That's all I knew going into this, and so I really didn't know what to expect from it. But as I watched it, I realized that the film becomes so much more than just a somewhat funny concept of holding Santa for ransom. There's also a lot of really cool folklore and fairy tale inclusions that have to do with some of the traditional or original backstory behind Santa Claus. And there's also a rocky father-son relationship that we see progress throughout the film, and it can be really emotional at times, I will admit. Although I didn't know what to expect or if I would find it good or not, let me start this review by saying that as soon as the film started, I was so completely engrossed within the story. And I am very excited to talk to you guys a little bit about it this week. But first, if you are new here, hi, my name is STARGUTZZZ. And any kind of running or crashing or loud noises that you might hear happening in the background, those are my cats. Also, my movie reviews tend to be more of a discussion of elements that I find to be good or bad about a film, rather than just giving you this play-by-play of every single little thing that happens in it. So in other words, I try to refrain from spoilers as much as possible, but they will arise as they pertain to the discussion at hand. I will tell you right now, I do have a spoiler section coming up in this video because I can't not talk about it. Especially if any of you in my audience or who are watching this video have seen Rare Exports, you know I have to talk about some of the spoilers in this. It's part of what makes this film stand out so much. But if you haven't seen it, I'm begging you, please skip over that spoiler section. It will be its own chapter. I will tell you when it's happening. If you have not seen this and it sounds even remotely interesting to you, I beg you, I beg you, I beg you. Even if you're a person who's like, I don't care about spoilers, please don't. If you're interested in watching Rare Exports before or after this review, you can do so on our best friend Tubi TV for free. I will provide the link in the description so it is that much easier for you to go out and watch this film. I, of course, am not sponsored by Tubi. It's not like any kind of sponsored link. However, if Tubi, is out there and they're listening. But anyway, especially if you listen to the synopsis and it sounds even remotely interesting to you, just stop the video. I will completely understand. Just stop the video and go watch it. And then maybe come back. And with all of that out of the way, let us jump into this discussion of Rare Exports. Within the 24 days leading up to Christmas, American company Sub-Zero Incorporated begins blasting and mining deep within the Corvatanturi. They start blasting and mining deep within the Corvatanturi mountains. Listen, Julia, especially, I'm gonna be butchering all of these words. I hope you're prepared. And if you show this to your friends, I hope your friends are prepared as well. Although no locals in the nearby village can imagine why, a young boy named Pieteri suspects the corporation is digging up the grave of Santa Claus and reawakening him. But this is not the Santa Claus that sold in red and white and drinking soda, rather a more sinister and ancient being that's been trapped for hundreds of years, and for a good reason. During this excursion for Santa Claus, Santa escapes the clutches of Sub-Zero Inc. and is shortly caught by Pieteri's father. With the village facing bankruptcy after losing their only meat supply for the winter, Pieteri's father has the brilliant idea to hold Santa for ransom. What follows is a Christmas more dark and sinister than what anyone could have imagined. Listen, if that remotely sounds interesting to you, stop the video now and go watch it. And please also come back so we can, I don't know, talk about it, even though this is the video is a one-sided. You can make comments in the comment section. I'm gonna be honest, a whole lot of what I want to talk about with this film just has to do with the narrative itself. It is so clever, it is so unique, and it is so well written. That is what most of the discussion here is going to be. I feel like there was something I wanted to mention. I remembered what it was. It wasn't until this movie that I realized Finland borders Russia. I had no idea. I thought Finland was in a completely different place, and I am embarrassed to share where in Europe I thought Finland was. We will no longer be discussing where the location of Finland is. It borders Russia. The more you know. So listen, I don't think I'm gonna waste any time. I know I usually kind of add a little bit more stuff in the synopsis before moving on to discussion, but most of my discussion is gonna be on the narrative itself. So while Rare Exports is classified as like a horror movie, I feel like I would more define it as an action adventure, heavy on the adventure, action adventure Christmas tale with a lot of horror and fantasy themes throughout it that help build a darker tone. And also, compared to the other films that I cover on this channel, I feel like maybe I should note that the death count in Rare Exports is not a very high one. I say that so that don't go into it expecting like a whole bunch of violence and gore. There is violence, there can be like bloody moments, but it's not going to be anything compared to what I normally cover on this channel, it's especially not going to be like Poltergeist. And honestly, there's only one death scene that we actually see that I can think of off the top of my head. Like, things and people die, but I can only remember like one that the audience actually sees. And I'm just stating that because I know I cover a whole lot of like crazy violent and crazy gory content here. And I also know that's not everyone's thing. So if I'm watching a horror movie that's not heavy on that at all, Vivian, where'd you go? Then, you know, I feel like there's good reason to mention it. Because for any of you who don't like gore, there's like hardly any in this. Is there blood? Yeah, but it's not going to be insane. Instead, I would say that Rare Exports is much more narrative driven, meaning it's doing what most of cinema is doing already, I guess. But it stands out on this channel for being a very narrative-driven film. It stands out here because a lot of the time, maybe some of the movies that I cover or enjoy are much more focused on like practical effects, special effects, and gore. However, thankfully, the narrative of this film, oh my god, it's incredible. It immediately consumed and intrigued me as soon as the film started. This might be I always take notes. Do I have my notepad? Yes. I always take notes the first time I watch a movie. You can see in through here, all of my notes. This is my second or third notebook that I've almost filled. Holy shit, I have 2 pages left. I have to get a new one. But here are my notes for Rare Exports. A single page front and back. It's probably the least notes that I have ever taken when I've watched a movie, especially on the first go. And I think the reason for that is because I was so engrossed and entangled and interested in what was happening in the narrative that I didn't want to take notes. I just wanted to experience it. So it's probably the least notes I've ever taken while watching a movie, just because I was engrossed. I was so entirely engrossed in this narrative, and I kept wanting to know what's going to happen next and where is this going and how is it going to end. Because the narrative, not only is it new and interesting, but it's also very well written, and it makes sure to include like fun pieces of traditional Santa Claus folklore. It's so cool. And like, it's new. It's new. Forgive me if I'm wrong, if there's another movie like this that exists out there, but is there another movie where Santa Claus is like being held for ransom? It's crazy. It is a crazy idea, but it's also so unique and so new, and a lot of the turns that the narrative takes is incredibly clever. Like the folklore editions, the way that they tie in some of the folklore of Santa Claus is so clever. One of my favorite moments of like the folklore, it being kind of silly but also clever and serious all at the same time, is a little bit later on in the movie. One of the villagers, he has a problem with his potatoes, but the problem isn't that like something's wrong with the potatoes. Nobody stole the potatoes, but they stole all of the potato sacks that were holding the potatoes. I don't know why I like that specific detail so much, but I do. I found it clever, a little bit funny, but also the way it's taken in the film and how those potato sacks relate to the original origins of Santa Claus. Also a little bit sinister that those potato sacks are gone. However, with the film as a whole, I think my personal favorite aspect of it is just the whole notion of capturing Santa Claus, holding him hostage, and selling him for ransom. Again, it's so new, it's interesting, and it's unique, and again, the places that it goes with it is just so clever. Unfortunately, I cannot give you a lot of details on how exactly it's clever. That's gonna have to be part of the spoiler talk, but trust me, it's just like, I'm so impressed with the way that the narrative is written and how they're able to like add some of these little details. And of course, a lot of the horror tones that are present within Rare Exports, it does have to do with Santa's more sinister origins, how Santa was depicted hundreds of years ago, where he would actually kidnap and beat and potentially eat children. And when we see Santa in the film, he's way more like a feral animal. He is grody. He is dirty. There's a weird thing happening with his eyes. The way that he looks at our young hero, Pietari, the way he looks at him is so creepy. It's like sick and gross and creepy. And despite some of its darker tones, which I've just mentioned, and how it does lean into like horror themes, at the same time, the film as a whole still feels very oddly warm and cozy and almost nostalgic despite its darker themes. It took me a while to figure out exactly how to describe it, but I think I have it. Although most of the tone is dark and horrific and a little bit sinister, Rare Exports still is able to maintain a certain level of childlike whimsy and wonder, which we can see in like any other classic Christmas family film. Except it's kind of not. I don't know. There's only like one thing that would keep me from allowing like maybe a 10-year-old from watching this. Listen, Santa's whole hog is out. When I say he's a feral, he is a naked feral animal. We see Santa's hog. It's weird. That's like the only part of it that would keep me from allowing a tween from watching it. That's the only part. Because otherwise, like, it's not that bad. And it does still have a lot of the same tones as an adventurous, nostalgic, classic Christmas adventure family film. And this could be just because our protagonist is a young boy, so we are looking at the narrative through his perspective primarily, and through this childlike belief in Santa Claus. Although, instead of being like excited and hopeful for the existence of Santa, he's more scared. He's more scared and wanting Santa to die. And listen, I don't blame the kid. Santa looks at him weird, dude. Santa looks at him like a fucking creep. I don't blame this kid for being so petrified of Santa Claus. But something else that I noticed is the color palette of the film. I feel like a lot of the colors and the tones and warmth of the film sort of matches that of other like classic Christmas films, such as maybe A Christmas Story or The Thing. And I noticed stuff like there being a very soft grain on the video footage itself. Again, kind of adding to that warm, fuzzy Christmas feeling. And also there is a use of incandescent lights on any Christmas decorations that we see. And of course that gives, oh my God, are incandescent lights not like the warmest, coziest, fuzziest Christmas feeling? So despite the horror that our characters face, and also the somewhat skeezy scheme to sell Santa Claus for ransom, and now listen, although it's scuzzy, it's logical. I can't say that I wouldn't do the same thing. Despite all of that and any of the dark themes and tones that it has, somehow Rare Exports still upholds a cozy and warm Christmas feeling. And the narrative is fucking cool. It's so cool and clever and unique, and so well written, very well paced as well. It's overall just such a clever and unique Christmas story to tell that, who would have thought of that? To sell Santa Claus for ransom. I won't say that this is the only piece of media that has ever done it. Like, I'm sure if we go into the realm of like adult cartoons, I'm sure there's been some kind of episode of holding Santa hostage in some adult cartoon somewhere. I'm not saying that it's never been done, but I'm saying that I've never even heard of it being done. And man, Rare Exports, I think it stands out. It's a very cool alternative Christmas movie to watch. And unfortunately, I really can't speak a whole lot on what specifically makes Rare Exports stand out without going into some of the spoiler talk. Okay, you guys, my little freaks. We are now getting into the spoiler talk. If you have not yet seen Rare Exports, if it sounds even mildly interesting to you and you think you might want to see it, I'm begging you. I am begging you, please skip over the section. It's its own chapter, so you can go right on into the conclusion, or here's the timestamp right here as well. I want you to go into this film only knowing what I've shared with you so far about it being clever and unique, and that it's a bunch of Finnish country guys selling Santa Claus for ransom. That's all I want you to know. Please, for the love of God, I am begging you, if you haven't seen it, if it sounds interesting, please do not go forward. Stop this video, go watch it, return, share your thoughts in the comments below. I always love interaction. And I'm going to wait. I'm going to give you some time to go ahead and skip or leave. This is me giving you time. Okay, your time is up. 3, 2, 1. We're getting into the spoilers. I really hope you have heeded my warning. This film does a fantastic job of hiding the fact that it has a twist. Obviously, if you've seen it, you know that who I have been referring to as Santa Claus is not Santa Claus. And that's because I wanted to uphold the illusion that that is Santa Claus, because that's exactly what like the trailers and the synopses for this film does. It does such a great job of hiding the fact that there's a twist at the end. And the twist is it took the whole thing to another fucking level. My jaw dropped when that funny little man in the glasses said that that was not Santa Claus.
Put down your weapons and smile as nice as you can. This is not Santa.
What?
I'm sorry, what? That's not Santa? Oh, that's not Santa. Oh no. It is such a good twist, and it is a clever twist, the way that they have like, oh my god. Oh, let me include this. It's either really good at hiding the fact that it has a twist, or I'm just stupid. Maybe I'm the only one that feels like it did a good job hiding the twist. But that's how I feel. Maybe I'm just dumb though. But the twist of the Santa that we see throughout the film actually being an elf, like one of Santa's helpers, and the real Santa still being in the mountain. All of the elves look like a traditional long bearded mall Santa Claus, and they're all trying to defrost the real Santa that's like 20 feet tall and more reminiscent of probably Krampus. Which was Krampus the original real Santa? Here's how I've always understood it, is that both Santa and Krampus, they both exist. Santa takes care of the good kids and Krampus takes care of the bad kids. But that might not be accurate. I don't know. I'm not very knowledgeable of Santa Claus lore. But oh my god, when the funny little man in the glasses said that he's one of the elves, that he's not Santa, how fucking clever. How clever, because one of the characters even says it in the movie, how that's an explanation for why Santa Claus is able to be in multiple places at once.
Jos oot Aimo joskus ihmetellyt, että miten se pukki ehtii tuhansiin paikkoihin yhtä aikaa, niin näin se käy.
It's because it's not actually Santa himself, it's his elves. And how we think Santa Claus looks is actually how his elves look. My god, I love that. That's so I'm sorry, that's so clever. I'm like foaming at the mouth at how clever that is. So basically, the real Santa is Krampus, and the stereotypical Santa that we know and love and drinks Coca-Cola, those are actually his elves. Dude, that's so smart. I think that's so incredibly smart. And it's also within the reveal of like the stereotypical Santa actually being elves and what Santa actually is. A lot of this more relates to the fairy tale tie-in with the real Santa Claus or Santa Claus's origins, which we do see Pietari study throughout the film.
Mikä tää on? Todiste siitä, että jotkut saduista on totta. No, mitä tässä pitää sitten näkyä? Oikea joulupukki. Se antaa tuhmille rissua niin, että henki lähtee ja veri vaan roiskuu.
So I really think it's cool how they tie in the real Santa Claus with his like original folklore and just origins, especially from this part of the world. It's so well written, it's so well structured, and it's so clever. Everything they've decided to do with like the representation of Santa Claus in this film, it's almost perfect. And I'd say because so much of Santa Claus representation in this does call back to like his origins, I think that even more just gives it this whimsical adventure vibe that it has. And my notes are incredibly scattered, so back to the fact of the Santa elves. Not only the elves being our traditional Santa Claus, but how the film literally ends. Again, so clever, so cool, so unique, that these elves that match the stereotypical appearance of Santa, like the Coca-Cola appearance of Santa, they look like the jolly classic Santa Claus. And once real Santa is destroyed, this is a spoiler section, so we know Santa gets destroyed, real Santa does, and all of the elves are out of a job, so they train them all to be mall Santas and are exported. And that is what the rare export is, are hundreds, maybe thousands upon thousands of mall Santas. These elves being trained to be mall Santas, there's just, for some reason, there's just something about it that feels like it is the absolute cherry on top of the entire narrative. I'm so impressed by the narrative and the writing of this film. It's just, this is probably going into like my regular Christmas horror movie rotation now. It's so, somehow it manages to be so cozy and so freaky. Although really quick, if I could like say one thing that I was disappointed about or that I could complain about maybe a little bit, I am disappointed that we never see real Santa in action. He gets blown up so easily. It's like hardly even a threat. Somehow the ending of the whole like saving the children and killing Santa and distracting the elves, somehow it's all like too simple, but also maybe the slowest part of the film. And I think that would just be my one complaint, is that like we see this giant monstrous 20-foot real Santa Claus and he gets blown up before he even actually becomes a threat, which I mean like I get it. It's probably like a budget thing. I'm not saying I don't understand why they didn't do it. I'm just saying that I am disappointed because like that would have like pushed it. That really would have pushed it if we actually got to see Santa, the real Santa, become a threat himself. Like it's like finishing with a giant Godzilla. Finishing the film with a giant Godzilla. They thought the whole time the threat was this skinny, dinky little naked man, and then Godzilla comes out. I mean, it's still incredible, but I'd be lying if I said I was not disappointed about that. I am a little bit that we don't get to see real Santa in action. I feel like I've been annoying with how much I've been calling this film clever and unique throughout this review. But what other word can I call it? It's genuinely clever and smart and new and fresh and unique. Like, you're not going to find another holiday movie like Rare Exports. It is so entirely its own. Overall, I kind of feel like this is one of my shorter videos that I've done in a while, but it's not because it's bad in any sense. In fact, I think it's incredibly well done. I think it is a very well done, well structured, interesting, new, fresh Christmas tale with a lot of horror and fantasy elements thrown in there as well. Like I said, this film had my full attention from the start. I hardly wrote any notes on this just because I was so engrossed within the narrative, within like the plot, and I really like all of the characters. I like all of the turns that this film takes to tell its Christmas tale. And like the whole idea of Santa being frozen in a mountain, dug up, like being grave robbed by a bunch of Americans, but then captured by Finnish country bumpkins and held for ransom. Dude, if you're looking for a new Christmas film to watch and you don't mind reading some subtitles every now and then, I highly recommend Rare Exports. Just because this might be one of my shorter videos in a while does not mean that it's a terrible film. Far from it. There's just a whole lot that I want you guys to experience from this film on your own. Just know that I do highly recommend it. I very highly recommend this film. Not just to a horror audience though. Like I think anybody could watch this. Anybody could watch this film and enjoy it. As I said, I would probably more call it an adventure film with a lot of horror and fantasy themes thrown in there. So, you know, like don't expect a whole bunch of gore or slashing as compared to a lot of the other films that are on this channel, and probably a lot of the other films that we're going to cover this December. It's probably going to be like one of the least violent, but narrative-wise, I think it's probably also going to be the most fresh and interesting that I'll be covering this month. I also feel like it not having a whole lot of gore or slashing or violence in it does open it up to being more accessible to a broad audience. Like even if you don't like horror movies, you still could potentially really like this film. I would recommend this film to literally anyone. Literally anyone could find enjoyment out of this film. Not like a specific subset of people, anyone. Anyone could enjoy this. And that is why I am very highly recommending it to you guys. And I'm sure from how enthusiastic I have been throughout most of this review, a lot of you can probably assume what tier Rare Exports is going on. And that tier, I think, is very obviously the A tier. I mean, I don't really have any complaints about it. There's no reason why it shouldn't be, especially for how like cleverly it's written, how well structured it is. It's bringing something new and fresh to the table, not only in the realm of horror, but also in the realm of like classic Christmas films. And despite it being like so dark in tone, there's also a lot of the tone that feels like a traditional cozy and warm Christmas film. It's really interesting. It's really unique and cool. And like I said, anybody could enjoy this. It's not just for horror lovers. Literally, I can see literally anybody enjoying this film and including it within their Christmas film rotations. The only complaint that I really had was in the spoiler section, so I can't repeat it here. But other than that, I'm obsessed with the narrative. I'm like so obsessed with the narrative. It's clever. You know what? I've already said so many adjectives. I think you guys get the point. Please go out and watch Rare Exports, and also thank you to my beautiful Finnish bestie Julia for recommending it to me. It's taken me like I think 2 years to finally watch it, but now that I've finally watched it, like I get it. I understand why you have recommended this to me. And with that, we are done with yet another movie review. Thank you guys so much for staying all the way until the very end. If you like this video, please make sure you stab that like button. It is a free and easy way to help support this channel. Also, is there a horror movie that you would like to hear my opinion on or see me cover? Please put it in the comments down below and maybe you will see it turn up in a future video. Also, if you just like this video so much that you want to hear me ramble about more B movies, foreign horror films, disturbing cinema, I'm very much into trauma as well, cheesy bad B movies. The main focus that I try to really lean into is horror movies. So if you would like to see me ramble about more horror movies, please consider hitting that subscribe button and the bell icon so you can be notified every time I make a new upload. Which new uploads are usually every Friday at 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. On the screen as well are some of my socials, and I'm just gonna go ahead and preemptively warn you. I'll probably warn you the week before Christmas as well. I already know the video for Christmas week is gonna be late. Expect the Christmas week video to probably come out on Saturday instead of Friday. But other than that, I typically try to upload at 4 p.m. every Friday Eastern Standard Time. This Saturday, we are doing yet another live stream. I am going to start a playthrough of Amnesia: The Dark Descent. Here's my live channel. It is also linked in the description down below. I will be going live on Saturday at about 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I chose to play this because I'm sorry, I was a PewDiePie kid. I did start watching PewDiePie when he was doing pretty much exclusively Amnesia and Happy Wheels videos. And being a child who had dial-up internet and, you know, I couldn't play it whenever it was big, I now kind of want to go back and finally play it. Now that I have internet and a nice computer. I'm doing it selfishly. I'm playing Amnesia for me. For the younger STARGUTZZZ who had dial-up internet, who was obsessed with PewDiePie, who never got to play Amnesia, I'm now playing Amnesia. That is the reason why I'm playing this. So if you are interested in that playthrough, please come join us on the live channel. And if you can't make it at the specific time, the videos are saved, or the live streams are saved on the channel for you to watch at a later time. Now, just one final thank you so much for everyone who has stayed around all the way until the very end. Our time here is precious, and the fact that you have used your time to sit here and listen to me ramble about a film where Santa gets held hostage for ransom money. Thank you. I really appreciate it. I appreciate you and your time and you being here supporting the channel by watching the video. I really appreciate you and your time. Thank you. If I do not see you guys in the live stream, then I will see you in the next video. But until then, please have a great night and stay safe out there.
Koko järvi jäätyi pohjasta saakka ja pukki jäi sinne vangiksi. Sitten seuraavana kesänä järvestä loittiin iso jääkökkäre ja haudattiin maahan. Ja päälle kasattiin monta 100 metriä kiviä ja multaa.
Ja siitä tuli korvatunturi.
Jep.
Sä oot niin pelle.